Former England cricketer Graham Swan joins us live from Durham, and the sports psychologist Dan Abrahams is here with me in the studio. Well, let's start with you, Graham, as a man who knows about the stresses and strains of touring. It is a cauldron out there in Australia, isn't it? And different players have different ways of dealing with the pressure.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, of course it is. I mean, international sport and international test cricket is a hostile arena. But I think what we're looking at is two different things. One is the pressure of the sport, and the other, which Jonathan Trott's suffering from, is a mental health issue. And the two things are completely separate. You can get fed up on tour if you're not playing well. You can get very emotional. But that's different to a mental health condition, and I don't think we should confuse the two.
Okay, but interesting point there, Graham. Let's put that to Dan Abrahams, as we're hearing there from Graham. I mean, it can happen to people in all walks of life having mental health conditions, and the fact that he was in an extremely stressful environment has no bearing on it.
I agree and I disagree.
Okay, tell us why.
Quite frankly, Jonathan Trott is obviously suffering from a major depressive disorder. It's been going on a long time. Andy Flower has said he's trying to manage that situation and has been for some time. But equally, international sport, when you're isolated, when you're in this cauldron of pressure, when results, success and failure is so overt, then of course that can deliver the onset of major depressive episodes. So yes, I do agree with that synopsis to some extent, but I think that it can be switched on by being isolated, being away from home for 6 months. So it's a little bit of both. It's a complex landscape.
Okay, that's interesting, dear. I mean, Graham, personal experience, what about being on tour and finding, well, I don't know, you know, you felt your own performance was under par, you take a bit of stick. Did you never feel like jacking it all in yourself?
No. I mean, I've been on tour and played badly, as I'm sure a lot of people know. But what you do is you go on tour, you're representing your country, and even if you are playing badly, you're doing the thing that you love doing, and you're doing what you always wanted to do. Now, it was only after I'd finished playing that I became clinically depressed. But I had tiny episodes whilst I was away, during my career. But the main thing is that you do love doing what you do, which is playing for England.
Yeah, and staying with you, Graham, I mean, do you feel that, I mean, do you feel in your time, and do you feel now that the management, that the authorities understand, you know, each player is different and do their very best to help you along? I think there's an enormous support network now that didn't used to exist, and it's getting better and better. The English Cricket Board have obviously been working with Jonathan Trott, and you've got to applaud them for that. The Professional Cricketers Association are making huge strides in this direction, and it's good that issues like this are being talked about. You've got to admire Marcus Trescothick for the book that he wrote and the way he speaks about mental health issues. And the more it is in the public arena, the more that people can understand, the more people that can be helped. And it is essential that conversations like this take place. It's just always very sad that it's come up because of a prominent sportsman has been diagnosed with clinical depression. Yeah, I mean, that is a very important point, isn't it, Dan Abrahams? And it's kind of going back to that first point we were making there, that, you know, it's important to talk about these things. And okay, it may be extremely stressful doing what the team is trying to do out there in Australia, but people, you know, there's stress in everyone's lives.
There is stress in everybody's lives, and I don't think anybody is saying that an athlete is more likely to become stressed than anybody else in any other population or walk of life. But in sport, there are opportunities to switch on this stress response. Graham was talking about there having a career as an international cricketer. I was a professional golfer. You travel around, you're away from home, you can become isolated, lonely, and you need ways to deal with that.
And can you start having that conversation in your head, particularly when the performance dips a little bit? You kind of upset yourself because of your own high expectations.
Absolutely, absolutely. If as I said earlier, results are so overt, success and failure here. So when you start to fail, of course, your story, your inner narrative, your inner dialogue changes to one that's quite pervasive and quite negative. What Graham was talking about there, which was very impressive, was a wonderful coping mechanism to deal with that. I've always wanted to be out here competing, and that's a great way to speak to yourself.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. As Graham was saying, they're a very important issue. Thank you very much for giving it an airing there. Dan Abrahams and Graham Fowler. Very good to see you, Graham.